Welcome to the PPSS Success Show. My name is Fong, and today we have another great guest. He's been able to help a lot of people all around the world elevate their performances and build intentional habits that drives great changes and great results, which is very, very important in this very fast day and also things that goes around so busy and whatnot. So very, very important stuff. Having those intentional habits created for ourselves. He has over 20 plus years of experience in the conscious leadership and also the self-awareness area. He creates mind shifts for his clients to lead to lasting changes. And he's also been able to coach and train thousands of individuals and also business CEOs and entrepreneurs all around the world. He's also the author of the book Vision Mastery Playbook. So please welcome conscious leadership expert, author, Dr. Kevin MAYS.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here today. I'm looking forward to a great conversation about good work that changes people's lives and how to do it, how to create that mindset shift that allows you to hit an elite level of performance.
That is so important, and I'm very, very excited to have you here to talk about that because there's so many people out there who's been doing the same thing over and over and again, and it's gotten them this far, and they don't understand why it's not getting them to the next level and the next level. And of course, there's always that saying where you kind of repeat the same thing over and over again, expecting something different. That's insanity, right? So, but before we jump into the details as to how people can kind of make that mind shift, how did you become who you are? Like, how did you pick this kind of topic to kind of focus on and become an expert in?
Yeah, what a awesome question. I was doing what I had always done. And that's the thing. They say, what got you here won't get you there. Well, I was doing what I had always done, what I had been trained to do from an early age, right? I grew up in Michigan. That is the car company, Central, right? General Motors, Ford were headquartered here. So any job worth its salt, you're an engineer. That was the culture, right? Growing up. So I was studying engineering, doing what I should, but not doing what I could, and really kind of trying to fit into a mold of who I thought I should be. And at some point, the mold broke. And I think so many of us, we get our training in the first 3, 5, 7, 10 years of our lives and to fit into our family system and our cultural system. And then that is the playbook that we use for the rest of our lives without even knowing we're doing it. We're on autopilot and without even awareness. So I was in this doing what I thought I should, right? Studying engineering. But in order to get that need met, that wildness that was in me, I was studying aeronautical engineering and flying airplanes. And at one point, I found myself, utterly bored with straight and level flight, which is the practice when you're a pilot. You're flying the airplane and you're just practicing over and over and over and over and over. I learned quickly that, if you pull the wheel back, the airplane slows down, then it stalls out of the sky. Then you kick the rudder and pretty soon you're spinning upside down. And it was spectacularly fun until one time I overcorrected and came out of the spin upside down and had to muscle my way all the way through, pulling back the wheel as I'm diving towards the trees and the blood is coming out of my head and I hit the never exceed speed. And this near death experience left me with this aha moment. Kevin, this is not the career path for you. And so, I landed the plane, kissed the ground, and bought a motorcycle and took off across the country. And as this was happening, General Motors went bankrupt. And I saw the eroding impact that happens when the world's largest company goes belly up. And I was on this self-awareness journey and something in me clicked. And I thought, there's no reason this has to happen. There's a way for humans to learn to manage themselves, to manage their businesses, to manage their companies and their organizations with intention in a way that doesn't leave a devastating trail of dismay in their community. So I've been on a pathway ever since that was like decades ago, but in a pathway to help leaders lead consciously, intentionally, to leave a positive impact in their community and to live life on their own terms and to get out of that constraints that we learn. Here's the interesting thing I love when you look at how our brain is wired. When we're 3 years old, our brain is forming a million neural connections a minute. And what that means is that we are influenced by our environment more than we know. And we learn to adopt these roles of being the hard worker, being the disciplined one, being the responsible, the pleaser, the family hero, whatever it is. And then we play that role out through the rest of our lives. And, you know, when you first started, I was thinking, do we have free will, right? That's the big question. Are we really just playing these patterns out, or do we really make decisions that allow us to own our potential? And I've come to this realization that most of us have free will in the same way that a goldfish in a fishbowl has free will. Has free will to move around within the confines of the bowl. But the real work for leaders is to be able to shatter that, to jump into the ocean and to exercise the true potential of our God-given gift on earth, and not just to play out a system of patterns that we've adopted early on. So what drives me? Man, that hard-fought wisdom of realizing that when you're on the pathway of playing out those patterns and doing what you should do, being the good boy, the good girl, as an adult, those patterns that got kind of molded into your neural fabric, you're going to limit yourself. And that's going to be the downfall of your organization. The fact that 50% of businesses don't make it 5 years. That's not because of the business. That's because of the leader. It's because of the executive mind that hasn't been cultivated appropriately. And I am on a mission to make sure that doesn't happen.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing. Like when you made that realization that okay, this isn't for me, I'm gonna do this complete shift into this completely different industry and area of expertise. How many people was telling you don't do that and go the safe route and go back? Well, due to the fact that you almost crashed, is that still the safe route? But anyways, the safe route of
Mhm.
maintaining where you are.
So I think of it as embracing radical disruption. And that's what it was, because I was on a pathway, and the pathway was more than just my pathway. It was the pathway of my family and my society, my community, you know, being the good kid, being the engineer, doing what you should. And so it was I had to radically disrupt not only my own belief set around what I thought it took to be successful, but now I'm in a family system where my parents are invested in my community. Hell, Kevin's becoming an engineer. So that radical disruption, that radical shift is huge. And it's an absolute letting go of everything you believe to be true. Because in all of those beliefs are an intense limitation, and we end up playing a role instead of accessing our potential. So it was intensely painful. But it was also, you know, it's funny, the way the story works out. I got on that motorcycle and I drove. And I drove and I drove and I drove until at one point I was on the West Coast of the United States, right? So I am just south of San Francisco. My motorcycle broke down. I ran completely out of money. I didn't know anybody for 2,000 miles. There's no cell phones at the time. So I had this little tent on the coast of California, and I had nothing. And at some point, it was this intense anxiety overwhelmed me. And as I sat there longer and longer, I remember very clearly it was this gentle mist was falling, and I'm looking out at the Pacific Ocean, and I'm watching the sea lions playing in the water, and there's this fog, kind of a heavy day. And off in the distance, as I'm sitting there stewing in my own anxiety, I watched this bolt of lightning hit the water. It must have been 5 miles out. And in that moment, something in me shifted, and I realized now it's all up to me. There's no more expectation. There's nowhere to fall back on. There's nobody to please. There's nothing to lose at this point. And I tell you what, that point of pure emptiness that hit me became an absolute freedom. And I realized I get to invent myself every moment from this point on. It's all up to me. There's no expectation. I get to be exactly the person I want to be. And I'll tell you what, the way it worked out, I ended up living in a house over the ocean with a hot tub, big circle of friends, and I knew nobody. But when I let go of all my anxiety and what I wanted to happen, and I stepped into the amazing audacity of the immediate moment, man, the universe opened up. It unfolded. And that's what I learned when you take the blinders off, because we get caught in this day-to-day routine of being who we should. And we stay in our comfort zone because the comfort zone is simply us playing out that pattern, whether or not it's us accessing our potential. So when I ripped off the blinders, as painful as that was, holy moly, things started to happen. Things started to happen that I never could have predicted, I never could have constructed, I never could have planned for. things just the universe provided. And in those moments, I learned some deep trust in the universe, because the universe is not a logical place. And it's not usually what we do is we project our thoughts into the world and we think that's how the world works. No, that's how our world works. And when you change your thinking, you change everything. That's what I discovered there, to the extent that decades later, it came time for me to start my own business. I quit my job, packed a truck, moved across the country to a new town I had never been, this time with a stay-at-home wife and two young children, to start my own business. And a lot of people thought I was crazy. How do you do that? Like, you know what? I've done this before. I understand the game. I know how it all works. It's all about intention. It's all about how your mind, how you manage your attention and your intention. Because with your thoughts, you create the world. And it's amazing. And when I see business owners take that same kind of leap, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal what it's possible to create. And I know you've got a host of stories of what you created along the way as well. You understand that at some point when we align with the truth, the universe becomes abundant.
That's amazing. Like for me, I had to go through a couple of years of kind of understanding what I wanted to do, and then also a couple of years of training the people around me, like people, my family and friends, to accept this is where I'm going to go, kind of thing, right? Like you
Mhm.
said, you need to be able to control what you want, control your thoughts, and kind of be who you wanted to be. However, you can only control so much within yourself. You can't control what other people think. So when it
Absolutely.
comes to you showcasing this brand new you, all of a sudden the people around you is like, I don't recognize you anymore. I'm not sure if I like this. How long did it take you to get those around you that care for you, who wants the best for you, to kind of start seeing your life as you see it?
It's amazing that what often happens is if we change, but the individuals around us don't, what happens? We change
Mm.
back. So one thing that was good for me in that point of radical disruption. Well, now I'm across the country, so there's nobody putting me back in the mold.
Mm.
And I'll tell you this: for decades, when I would go home, I would get cast back into the same role.
Mm.
Here it's Kevin's here. He's the lost child who's just off doing who knows what he's doing, who knows where he's at. Oh, my parents were afraid he's not going to go back to school. He's lost. He's not going to do. No, I had some fire in me. And the reality is, I fell in love with that lifestyle. I would go travel around the country on a motorcycle or around the world with a backpack and then go back to school. And I stayed in that. I laugh. I was 21 years old, right? And I was living free. I would go to school, go for a couple semesters, study whatever I wanted to study, and then travel for 3 months. And I was 21 years old, and it happened all at once that I graduated. I got married, got a job, got a dog, got a house, got a car. My age doubled overnight, and suddenly I'm a 42-year-old man. I stretched out my 20s for 2 decades because I just kept going back to school, and I was that one that my up against my parents' disappointment. Oh, what a disappointment.
Mm.
Well, after I got my fifth degree at school and started working with some of the largest corporations in the world and the best leaders and helping them change, my parents started to come to terms with the fact that, maybe Kevin's got this figured out a little bit. But along the way, it's really, really tough because we become so susceptible to the perception of others. In fact, I was laughing to myself thinking about this coming in. I've got my own podcast and a book that's being launched currently. It's called Lead Yourself First, right? And it's all about this game. Yet, as I'm publishing that, a friend of mine who knows nothing about any of this starts giving me his perspective and his opinion, and it starts to influence how I'm thinking. Like, we let people in, we rent them space, and it's so important to be vigilant and to create a buffer and a boundary that we don't let everybody influence us, that we find our own foundation and we commit to ourselves. And it's so difficult to do when others are doubting around us, because then it'll start to spill over and affect our own confidence and our own doubt. And it's like, how do you double down? And that's part of what I created in writing this book. It's like this 4-step process to be able to cultivate within yourself. First of all, presence. Be able to not get caught up in what you think you should do or concerned about what you have done, but just be here and now in the moment. And then from that point to actually have awareness of what those patterns are that you picked up, that I picked up when I was 3 years old. I was the youngest child and the only boy. I learned to be ultra responsible, to never need help, to the extent that when I was on the coast in California, broke down, and at the end of the road, and somebody stopped and asked if I needed help, and what I tell them, no, I'm fine. That's ridiculous. Of course it's, but that's the old haunting pattern, right? And how do we break through that to the point that we could truly be intentional? Not intentional as the goldfish in the fishbowl, but intentional as the fish in the ocean. When we realize all the options are ours, and then to create a vision for ourselves and move that direction. It's
Awesome.
brilliant when you start, when I, for myself, it's all hard fought wisdom. And that's the hope that, wouldn't it be nice if others could learn a little bit? As now on my journey, I'm like, oh, I learned what works and what doesn't. Here, take some,
Mhm.
drink from the well, learn, do it differently.
Mhm.
So it's just an amazing journey, an amazing journey.
I do find it very interesting that we do let other people influence us and change our ideas when these people may or may not even have the expertise to do so. They just say things without any backing. They just say things because it's what they feel. And then all of a sudden we
Mhm.
start, oh yeah, that sounds right. But then you don't really question it because of who they are and whatnot. And it's so important to kind of block that off and start seeking the advice and the comments and the feedback from people who's been there, who's done that, who kind of already laid out the path that you want to go through because that's who you want to be. You don't want to be on this side. So why do we still let this stuff come in? Which
Isn't
is
it amazing? It's
pretty interesting.
profound.
Yeah.
What you're saying is absolutely profound. And I've been doing this work for decades and I still get caught up. If I hear the same messaging from somebody again and again and again, it starts to infiltrate my thinking. Pretty soon they're influencing my thinking. And then I'm making decisions that aren't grounded, aren't centered, they're
Mhm.
overly influenced. And I've learned still to this day that when I do that, it never produces the best result.
Right.
But I like what you're saying. Find people who've been down that trail and not who are going to tell you, oh, here's what I feel. No, here's what I've learned along the way.
Exactly.
In my experience, it's not my way isn't your way, but here's what I've learned by the path I've been on. So take what you need from that, make your own decision. But when find people saying, oh, you have to do it this way, it's a slippery slope. It's a warning because that's their belief. And often it's not even based on data. It's based on some gut feeling from somebody who's never even walked on the path.
Mhm. So very, very true. You mentioned a few times about and you alluded to the answer of what I'm going to ask here with regards to conscious leadership and being intentional with your thoughts and your actions and whatnot. People are saying, well, I'm leading, I'm conscious, therefore it must be conscious leadership. Or it must be intentional because I know what I'm doing and I'm pushing it forward. Why is it not intentional? So are you able to share the difference between leadership and conscious leadership and why people don't recognize there's a difference?
It's an amazing question. For me, it's a point of evolution, how we evolve as humans. Our minds are like an iceberg. We're aware of the tip above the surface, but there's this huge mass under the surface that drives the way we think, the way we feel, and the way we behave that we don't even see or know that it's happening. We have this huge mass of unawareness in our mind that drives so much of what we do, and we don't see it. But what we do see is the surface, and then we create a logic that says, I'm right. Our logic says, I'm right. I have it dialed in. I've got it figured out. But we don't see that our mind is sneaky. Our mind is defending this self-concept and this identity we developed. So I see a lot of good entrepreneurs, for example, who are really good at doing things themselves. They have mom's voice in their head. If you want it done right, do it yourself, right? And so what do? They roll up their sleeves. They do it. They are good bootstrappers, like myself. and they have that hard fought, they're going to win at any cost. It's brilliant. However, when you really look at it, it's a deeper pattern that they created early on, that they kind of don't need help, do it yourself, no matter, win at any cost. It's fantastic until now you're an entrepreneur and your business is successful, and now you're a founder and you have a business and you have a staff. But what happens? Instead of delegating effectively, you take everything on yourself and you start to get in and you work around and you go right to, and I worked with this consistently. I call it founder syndrome, right? So now we have these patterns as a founder that I know what it takes to be successful because here I am. And it's those same patterns. What do we say? What got you here won't get you there. And so now I'm rolling up my sleeves, working hard. It's like I'm on a ship and I'm down in the engine room and nobody's piloting the ship. Your role must change. You must shift, and to recognize that these patterns that you don't even see, that you're unaware of, are driving and dictating your behavior in a way that's undermining your success. So for me, it all comes back to understanding and looking at the results you're getting. Are you getting the results at the highest level? Is your business performing at the highest level? Or are you seeing things like inefficiency, like scrap, like waste, like poor customer deployment, right? If you're seeing those things at all, what do so many entrepreneurs and founders want to do is just jump in and do it themselves. And they become the issue. And it's the old pattern driving them that they don't see. That's why it's evolution. It's learning to understand, to have awareness of what those patterns are, those patterns that are housed deeply in our unaware mind. We don't even see it. It's so normal. It's the lens that we look at the world through. And this is the weird thing, right? For entrepreneurs, like, how do you become aware of this part of your mind that exists in your unawareness? Doesn't even make sense. But in many ways, then having the tools to be able to shine the light of awareness into this deeper recesses of our mind to understand, oh, there are patterns I've developed early on that became ingrained in the neural fabric of my brain that now drive how I show up without me seeing it or knowing it. So the work is like turning your attention from the outer world and that mastery you've gained as an entrepreneur and learning to turn it inward, to become aware of these patterns of thinking, feeling, and behaving, and then to be able to make that shift. So for me, it's all about results. Are you getting the results you want in all areas of your life? If you're absolutely honest with yourself, do you have the life you want, the lifestyle you want, the relationships you want, the business you want, the wealth you want? If you've got that, brilliant. Do nothing different. But if you're honest with yourself and you feel like sometimes you're beating your head against the wall about what others are doing, they're just doing what they're doing. And they're doing it in reaction in relation to you. You can't change others. But when you change yourself, others change. That is, for me, the powerful reality. You have to change yourself first. And when you do, others begin to show up differently. So no different than you're at home and you're with people and you change. But if you don't stay the course, you're going to go back, right? You're going to go back and do it the way you always did it. However, if you stay the course, what happens? The people that are closest around you, it's like a puzzle, and you change one piece of the puzzle, you're going to change back. If you don't stay the course, they're not going to change. They're not asking to change. There's a couple options. Either if you change, you go back to your old system, you're going to change back, or you're going to find a new puzzle, or eventually the other pieces will shift. And that's the key. Stay the course. The other pieces, if you change, eventually they will change. Your staff who runs your company will change when you change. When you get out of the weeds, when you start to pilot the ship, when you stay the course with your parents, they will change. Your spouse will change. Your friends will change. And if they don't, it's time to move a new direction, associate with new people who are on the path, not who are telling you reasons that you can't be successful on the path.
Very, very
And you've experienced
stuff.
it, haven't you? You've experienced it. You've been there with
Yep.
people who are like telling you why you can't, how you can't, why, all the obstacles they see. It's like I'm a snowboarder and I love it. And I bet you, are you a snowboarder skier?
I'm not a winter sports person, even though I
Oh,
live in one of the coldest places you can. It's not my forte.
well, it's amazing for me. I am, and I love to go through the trees. What you learn as a snowboarder in the trees? You don't look at the trees.
Mhm.
You look at the pathway in between the trees. But how many times have you found folks who don't even know how to ski, who are telling you how to, and telling you all the trees in front of you, right? And whether that's a metaphor, you'll
Yeah.
find people, and I'm sure you know it. You find folks who will tell you all the things that you got to pay attention to and how you should do it, and they have no idea.
Right. Very, very
How do
true.
you how do you spend less time with those people and find people who really know and who are really not falling into the advice giving category for people who don't know? I realize advice doesn't work, and I'm not, it's funny because I mentor and coach, but I don't give advice. I help people find their own wisdom because
Mm.
it's in there.
Wow.
And to ask the right questions to make sure they're looking holistically. We all have a bias. I have a bias. I have a blind spot. You have a blind spot. We all do. Man, wouldn't it be great to have somebody who can help us find what that is and make decisions that don't, so we don't shoot ourselves in the foot, so we aren't replicating a pattern that we developed early on, that we know it's right. I'm good at being right. Ask my wife, she'll tell you how many times I start explaining to her my beautiful, brilliant logic, and it just goes nowhere. It creates frustration and irritation in her, in the dynamic in our relationship, and it doesn't get me the result I want. Instead, it's this old pattern of Kevin needing to be right to get my attention needs met. Right? It's like 3-year-old taking over. It's all that neural wiring that goes all the way back. And
Mhm.
that's the $1,000,000 question. Is it possible to teach an old dog new tricks? It is. That's the great thing. It is. But you
Exactly.
have to, one thing you have to know is who are you becoming?
Mhm.
Who are you becoming?
Yeah. Well, one of the ways to get to who you want to become is to break through those patterns that you were doing before. And we've heard a lot of people say, okay, well, if you want to change a habit, you need to stick with it for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, or replace it with a good habit and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm,
What is
mhm.
your strategy for people to replace or kind of make that shift so that it becomes a good, powerful habit that they have?
Isn't that something? It's habits. The hard thing is though, we justify and we create a logic around what we already do. We know we're right. The rest of the world is the problem. The boss man's the problem. My wife's the problem. My kids are the problem. My colleagues, my direct reports, my president, if I'm the CEO, everybody else is the problem. No, 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 no. 100%. The starting point is to recognize if you're feeling frustrated, frustration, irritation, sadness that you're not achieving what your business isn't operating the way you want, 100% it's on you. That's the first thing. Taking 100% ownership, accountability, and responsibility. I say OAR. You have the oars, you're rowing the boat, you're in charge of where it goes. That's number one. Now, I think when people change, there's a couple things that have to be in place. One is clarity of what's possible. In the heart, clarity of a vision. But the hard thing is, usually what I find entrepreneurs and leaders do is they create their vision based on their experience in the past. So we don't even know what's really possible, right? We think very linearly. I grew up, my dad worked for GM, blue collar. So what's possible for me? And I think in blue collar terms. That's the old pattern that I don't even see. And I think, oh, success, boy, if I can make $100,000 a year, okay, that's great. But there are humans who are making $100 million a year. There's the patterns that limit us. How do you strip free of that and adopt new ones? So the first thing is creating a clear, bold vision. But that's not enough. A vision alone is a dream. A vision, okay, that's half of the equation in my mind. The other half is dissatisfaction with your current state. If you have a great vision, but you're okay with the way things are, you're not going to ever accomplish that habit. Similarly, if you're completely dissatisfied with your current state, but you have no vision of what could be possible, you're just going to be in your state of dissatisfaction. So it's the two of those, right? Being able to experience in yourself that dissatisfaction. This is not okay. I have more to offer. And having clarity of that vision. Okay, now you're set up to be able to, for me, the habit is easy once you have those two. Then it's no different than the gym, right? Going to the gym. Why is it that the gym January 1 is packed February 1 is not. What is that thing that gets in the way? And it's our old neural wiring, right? We justify, we make excuses, and we let the way we feel drive what we do. It's uncomfortable. And so we make decisions that keep us back in the comfort zone. And then in order to justify, we have an excuse. Oh, we're too busy. Oh, our kids need us. Oh, whatever the thing is. And that's interesting. That's for me a great, clear example of physically how we grow ourselves. But the same is true mentally and emotionally. How do you develop the mental habits of excellence? For one thing I love to do, it's simple. It's about how do you train your brain? How do you train your mind? I'm a fan of the sticky note, right? And I have sticky notes on my laptop, on my bathroom mirror, and I rehearse and train my brain with messaging about who I'm becoming. Because I know in order for me to achieve my vision, the person Kevin is today is not the person who's going to achieve the vision. Kevin needs to evolve and change. And as I evolve and change, my conceptual and cognitive framework shifts. And what I think is possible shifts. So it all starts with me changing myself. As I change myself, and I will frame it as I am statements, who I am becoming. But not I am in a future state, but taking that future state and framing it in today's words. I am an executive of a $10 million company. Brilliant. I am an executive or I am consistently growing my business to whatever the goal is, to $25 million a month, $25,000, $250 a day, whatever the thing is, write down what that goal is. Who's the person you're becoming and rehearse that over and over and over and over. The beautiful thing is, as we do that, our brain actually starts to starts to rewire itself until it becomes a new habit over and over and over and over. And then ask yourself at the end of each day, did I do my best to do that thing over? It's like continually training your brain, using your mind, your free will to practice a repetitive pattern that actually rewires your brain so that over time, your mind's habit is rewired. You think about driving a car. How much energy it took you to learn to drive a car. When's the last time you thought about driving a car? When you get in it, what happens?
Right.
You think about it?
No, go
No.
through the motions.
Here's all the habits of our brain, and our brain supporting those habits of our mind. We don't even think about it. You drive without paying attention. You drive and wonder how you got the last 20 miles. Like, oh, wow, I'm here already. I just went 20 miles because your mind is somewhere else. But now if you take that same car and that same driving skill and plop yourself in England, what happens when you have to drive on the other side of the road? If you don't pay complete attention, you're going to default to the old way you've done it. And this is exactly what you're talking about with establishing a new habit. If you don't pay attention, you're going to default to the old way. And I've been there in my car on the other side of the car, gripping the wheel, and the person in the passenger seat made a joke. And I turned, looked, and laughed, took my eye off the ball for 1 minute, and what happened? I turned into oncoming traffic. It's about having that mental mastery and that discipline and commitment to stay the course regardless of how we feel about it, regardless of the logic that our brain is going to create, because our brain is going to scramble and try to get us to do the thing it's always done. Our brain is going to undermine us. Our mind, our monkey mind, is going to try to get us to do the same thing, to support the ego identity we've created that got us here. This is the thing. Our minds are tricky. And how do you out-trick the mind? Staying the course. Let me ask this. Let me turn the question on you. What have you done that's worked, that's helped you create consistency in developing those new mental habits that allow you to ascend, to get to a higher level? How have you done that?
Well, for me, it's one of those things where if I announce it or if I share it with somebody or with other groups of people, then I have that accountability that, okay, I'm not going to go back on my word. I'm going to go and do it. And then eventually it becomes something I do all the time. Or trying something completely different, have some challenges around with other people so that we're going through the challenges at the same time. And then we're learning it at the same time, which is great because you don't feel like you're alone, which is how I kind of broke through the whole, hey, I could do videos online now, and oh, I'm gonna go running every single day. Those are two things I could think of right now that one, I announced, and two, I found a group of people to hold each other accountable to make sure that we're doing a video a day or a video every 2 days or something like that. So
That is brilliant. To announce it to the world makes it real. And it's interesting. So I have a book coming out and I had a launch date set, but I didn't announce it yet because the book wasn't done. I'm like, and it was amazing the amount of pressure because I'm announcing it to people, a few people, but I didn't broadcast it simply because it wasn't completely done. And I'm aggressive with my deadlines, right? But oh my goodness, I was starting to stress myself out because I'm like, I'm staying up all night. I'm not spending time with my family. I'm like, oh my goodness. And I looked at myself in the mirror and I have big circles under my eyes. I said, hold on a second. What's the point of it all? So the great thing is I love it when you announce it, but we can't lose sight of what it's all for.
right.
Ultimately, what's it all for? I've seen business owners who get so wrapped up in their business that they lose sight of what it's for. The business is designed to help you create a lifestyle for yourself, for your family, to create a legacy, not to drain your energy, not to steal you away from the people you love. I've known successful business owners on their third marriage and their kids won't talk to them. Is that success? No, that's failure. That's
Right.
good. Great. You're making lots of money and you're going to die rich alone. So it's really about being able to step back. And that's why I love the idea of vision. Who are you becoming? What do you want? It's all out there for you to create. Now, sometimes you have to slay some patterns along the way. You have to slay some ego along the way, your self-identity. You have to let go of it because otherwise you'll just fall back to being the boy that your mother loved. And there's nothing wrong with that, except that you were 3 years old when you created that identity in order to get your attention needs met at that time to fit into your family system. And it's brilliant, but it's also going to shoot you in the foot.
Right.
So I think there's so much wisdom in what you said. Announce it to the world and then have a mastermind, have a community of people
Hmm.
that you are moving forward with. Congratulations on that. And I think that's just brilliant for all the listeners to like take that to heart. That works. That's fantastic.
Awesome. Well, as you were mentioning, like creating those habits, we have to understand what we wanted to do and what we want to be. And as we're kind of staying the course on those habits, we're chugging along, we're plugging away, and we all know that anything good requires patience. It requires time in order for that whole system to work. Do you have like a tracking pattern as to, okay, let's review if it's actually working and whether we need to course correct? And then is there a scenario, the part two of this question is that, is there any scenario where it's not your fault, it's your surroundings that's causing the results not to go your way, in which you then need to course correct again? Is there
Yeah.
any situations like that?
Well, so I come back to it's 100% your ownership, your accountability, your responsibility. And if it is falling back to the environment, just you have to watch your mind because we'll start to blame.
Mhm.
When we blame, we're out of our power zone. The power zone is that ownership, accountability, and responsibility. When we're in that, the world is ours to create, but it's difficult because ignorance is bliss. So when it's somebody else's fault, it's not my fault. Okay, see, I'm off the hook.
Right.
Now, yes, there are environmental conditions that might not be opportune. Okay, we need to change those then. And I love it. I have one of my mentors told me something that always sticks with me. He said, there's no unrealistic goals. There's only unrealistic timelines. I thought, and so it speaks to the patience you were speaking of, because sometimes myself, I have aggressive goals, and when I don't hit them on time, what happens? Then
Mhm.
my state of mind starts to shift. I feel deflated. I start to feel anxious and depressed. And learning to give myself a break is key and reconnect. Now, I'm a sailor and I love the metaphor of sailing because when you're sailing and if you have a destination on the horizon, you can most often you cannot go directly towards
Right.
it. The wind will not allow that. You have to go one direction and then course correct and go another direction and then go another direction and keep tacking back and forth. And that's how you make the most the best progress. So it's really important to be able to have some sort of metric, some way of knowing when the time to tack is. in your business. So I love, for me, I think seasonally, I have seasonal goals. What am I going to accomplish this autumn? What am I going to accomplish this winter? And then when the autumn's over, to know, okay, remember, where's the lighthouse on the horizon? What's the point I'm moving towards? Okay, here's the vision. Come back to the vision. Now, what do I need to do over the next season? And to really spend that time in a strategic planning session. I have a little cabin up north on a lake in Michigan where I go and I'll take my big flip chart pages and I'll spend the time, light a fire in the fireplace if it's in the winter, and all my markers and flip charts on the wall and just mastermind and come up with what are all these ideas. Take a couple other business owners with me, and we just create this lofty, high level, anything's possible in the next season, reminding ourselves what the vision is, and then over the course of the time, narrow it down to actual actionable things with timelines that we can commit to in the next 13 weeks, next 3 months, next season. Okay, so I love it now looking at what was the last season? What were the things I said I was going to do? Did I do them? What was the impact? Am I on the right path? Do I need to course correct? And not attach myself to them, but know that there are vehicles that are helping me move forward. Because sometimes it's so easy to get attached to this thing that isn't serving me well. For example, I was writing every day. Now, I love to write every day, but over a while, I had to ask myself, what's the point of writing every day? Is it a source of getting leads, expanding my audience, that then I have folks that I can convert and help, right? So it's about leads and conversion. Brilliant. Or is it simply a business practice? Or is it for me to continually have that discipline of my own personal growth and then putting it out to the world and finding that balance and knowing if it's not getting the result I need, then I need to think about changing it. So for me, 100% goes back to results, and recognize that model that rings so deep in my head. Beliefs drive behaviors to get results. Beliefs, behaviors, results. If you want different results, change your behaviors. And you only change your behaviors by changing your thinking, your beliefs. And that for me is that quarterly reset, that seasonal reset, to take time to stop working in the day-to-day and to work not in the business, the saying, but work on the business and make sure you're scheduling time and holding that time precious. I work with some business owners who say, great, we're going to take our quarterly planning session, and then all they want to do is get back into the day-to-day. Their phone keeps ringing. They keep doing deals. This isn't working.
Right.
You have to honor that place, that day, and set some real firm boundaries and make sure that you're practicing thinking, because your job as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as an executive is to think, not just about the day-to-day, but to step back, think about what are the disciplines. So, and for me too, the discipline, when you talk about enacting that, I always have not only the thing I'm going to do, right, that I announce to the world, and I love you said that so well, but a time that I'm going to do it for.
Right.
It's not forever, because then what I see people do is they forget to do that, and then they start something, and then over time it kind of just dissipates.
Right.
And that's, I think, even worse, because then they don't know how to measure their success. It's something they've modeled for their brain, starting without finishing. So having a date, for me, it's like the quarter. I'm going to do this every day for the next 90 days. Brilliant. After 90 days, you've done it. Congratulations. Train your brain. Success. Train your brain to get, what's the reward when you do the thing, right? So when you've done the thing, when you've done the podcast every day, the video every day, what is the reward you give yourself? There's probably something. Yeah. What is that for you?
It's just giving me a little bit of time to do what I want to do. Whether it's going out for a movie or enjoying a comic book, which I'm still a fan of. Like, it's one of those things that lets my brain kind of relax for a moment and then move on to the next thing.
So I love it to be able to not let yourself get the comic book until the time, and maybe even have one particular one that you want.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I worked with one entrepreneur, ran a nice business, and he had it all set up. He was going to buy himself a new Corvette when he hit that goal, and he was well on his way, but then he couldn't wait, and he bought it early. And it's okay, but our brains want that immediate gratification. And there's some power in letting ourselves achieve the goal, achieve the vision, and then doing the thing. Well, it's symbolic, just getting a new watch. I love that. I'm a watch hound. Or a new pair of shoes. I love good shoes. And I'm going to do that once I've achieved this thing. And that reward that my brain gets, right? Because it's releasing that dopamine. It's a positive feeling. And no, we're training ourselves. I achieve the thing, I follow through, my brain gets the dopamine. So my brain, it's no different than training my dog, right? It's that simple. It's a stimulus and response. And if we don't allow ourselves to follow through, and if we don't have the reward, and I see too many businesses that don't, they achieve the goal, they're on to the next thing. And they achieve the goal, they're on to the next thing. Well, that's great, but we're not training ourselves with that reward system that is very important. And I love this conversation because it reminds me. I can get so down into the weeds with my sleeves rolled up, doing the next thing and the next thing, and I forget to stop. Pause. Let's acknowledge what we've done. And now recognize when you get those results at a higher level, your mindset shifts. And as your mindset shifts, beautiful. Okay, now let's set it to the next level. When I first started my own business, I remember the numbers that I was achieving, right? I'd been used to the myth. Get a good education so you can get a good job. There's the myth. No. How about get a good education so you can learn how to run a good business and be an entrepreneur? Different mindset. So I remember when I first started my own business, the numbers were vastly different than working for somebody else. And it blew my mind. I'm like, oh my God, this is like a month in a year in a month. And as I did that more and more, I kept watching that same thing happen again and again. And that mindset shift is amazing to see as that you start to loosen the wiring of what you think is possible, right? Again, we're projecting into our future based on our experience. And when the more you recognize that our mindset can become a huge limitation. And anything is possible if you only train your brain a certain way. Mm-hmm. So after multiple years of that, I'm like, okay, look it. When I wrote down on the sticky note what I wanted to achieve and trained my brain over and over and over, and when I did it, it was a far, way beyond anything I really believed based on my experience. But as I kept training my brain over and over and over and over and over, and then I started achieving it, I realized, that with my thoughts, I'm creating the world. It's completely imperative that I am dialed in how I'm creating my mindset and my vision, my goals. Let go of logic around what I think is possible, because the universe is not a logical place. I limit it with my logic. But I'll tell you what, if I go from 10,000 a month to 50,000 a month to 100,000 a month to 5 million a month to 10 million a month, there are humans on earth doing that. And if they can do it, why not you? Why not me? It all starts up here.
Awesome stuff. I was gonna stop here with that amazing note, but before we end, you mentioned it a few times. You have a book coming out. Share with us more about that book and how people can get it. And I know you already have a date in mind. So when's that gonna be?
Brilliant. You're holding me to the fire. I have not launched the date because I just shifted.
I'm making you announce it right now.
When I originally did. But I love it. So the book is called Lead Yourself First. And it really gets to the heart of how you create these changes. It's designed to be a platform for transformation. Go to maysleadership.com and you'll find all the information about it. And for folks, I'm doing my best to launch it and to hack the system to make it a bestseller. So I'm offering all kinds of other what am I looking for? Bonus material for folks who buy it within a certain period. We'll have it affordable, and we'll have bonus material like the Vision Mastery Playbook. We will have the Conscious Leadership Mindset Playbook as well. Things that go beyond just the book, but that will help you as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as a leader of yourself, right? Before you can lead anybody else, you have to lead yourself. If you want to elevate and become exceptional, if you want to be at the front of the pack, I've created this whole book to help you do that. And so find me at maysleadership.com. We have a landing page that'll allow you to sign up to be informed about when it's coming out, and to get in the queue for all these bonuses that will help you elevate your performance and show up as the best version of yourself, the version that really achieves your potential, your God-given right, that is beyond the constraints that you learned, that is truly your higher self. So I am just fired up about it, excited about this conversation, and look forward to being out there and being able to be helpful for folks in any way possible.
Awesome. Well, we're all going to look forward to that book launch and take a look into that, and excited for you as well for that book launch. And it's always a great feeling when you see something you worked on so hard and for such a long time come to fruition. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. And yeah, and hats off to you for the good work you're doing in this podcast. And with all the folks listening, you know what, man, life is yours to grab. You can create anything. There's people who are wildly successful just like you, people who are failing and flailing. The only difference is how you
Mm,
create your thoughts. So
awesome.
create excellence in your state of mind. The world needs it.
Awesome. Before I let you go, I'm going to do a quick five rapid fire questions with you. Give me the first thing that comes to mind.
Brilliant.
You're stranded on the deserted island, one food to eat for the rest of your life, no consequence. What would it be?
One food to eat for the rest of my life.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. No consequence. This is crazy. I'm gonna have to go with a good risotto. I'm a huge fan of Spanish risotto, so I'll take that every day.
Hollywood calls and goes, "Hey, Dr. Kevin, we love your story. Very, very inspirational. Let's do a biopic of you. Who would you cast to play you?"
Oh my goodness, it's got to be Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt shows up at your door and goes, "Hey, buddy, I got casted to play you. Let's have some fun." And you go, "Hey, I got the whole night planned out. What does that look like?"
Oh man, we're gonna jump on a sailboat and go out across, up and down. I won't be a night. It'll be a couple of weeks sailing around Lake Michigan, up to the Straits of Mackinac, to Lake Huron. Oh, babies, let me just dance with the wind on the open water. It's bliss.
You're good. You're being called on stage. Your opening theme song is
Oh, it's got to be. I'm going U2 big time. I'm trying to think of what is the U2 song, where the streets have, but it's got to be better than that, with or without you. There's some one of those classic U2 high energy transformational pieces that I fell in love with a long time ago.
great choice. Number from one to four.
Three.
One, two, three. So the word is hamburger. And if you were to use the word hamburger as a metaphor for success, how is success like a hamburger?
Well, it's absolutely. It's got two pieces, right? Its success doesn't just happen. You don't eat it with your bare hands. You have some packaging. In the packaging, success is you and your personality, your identity, right? That's the whole thing. The hamburger isn't just the meat, it's the whole thing, and the condiments as well. So it's the sweetness that success brings. It's not about money for money's sake. It's not about business for business sake. It is this larger thing that is your life. It starts with your thinking, it comes with your community, and it can be delicious.
Nicely done. So that's how success is like a hamburger. Once again, thank you very much for your time and all the stories that you shared and all the wisdom that you shared. Any final words from you?
No, yeah, just I'll go back to what I said earlier. You know, now more than ever, the world needs it needs grounded people, people who are bringing their wisdom. When you look at when we talk about this training we've been in, most people they have the same religious affiliation as their parents. Where's the free will in that? We have the same political affiliation as our parents. What the world needs is people who are grounded in wisdom within. And I'm not saying let go of that stuff, but I'm just saying just really look at and access your own wisdom, because there is a storehouse of wisdom within you, within me, within everybody, if we can only learn how to access it. That's the true path. That's what the world needs now more than ever. We are in a point where we cannot afford to have people coasting, where we can't afford to have people resting on what they've done in the past. You must be the best version of yourself. We need it. So thank you, everyone, for stepping up and bringing your best self so we can create a world worth living in.
Nicely said. Great words to live by. So thank you very much again. Everybody, make sure you connect with Dr. Kevin here and also look up for his book coming out. Lots of great content, lots of great guidance there. So make sure you reach out and buy his book as well. So thank you again, once again. He's Kevin. My name is Fong. Until next time, today is the day to unlock your peak potential. We'll see you later.